Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Chasing the Cup. I'm your host Will England, and in this episode I'm going to be reviewing the races from the Chicago Street Course. I'll also go over the news, and I'm going to preview this weekend's races at Atlanta and Mid-Ohio. But first, let's take a look at the results from Chicago. This race led to one of NASCAR's biggest upsets in modern history, as Supercar champion Shane Van Gisbergen wins the inaugural running of the Grant Park 220, and he's followed by Justin Haley in second, Chase Elliott in third, Kyle Larson in fourth, Kyle Busch in fifth, Austin Cindric in sixth, Michael McDowell in seventh, Joey Logano in eighth, Ty Gibbs in ninth, and Chris Buescher rounds out the top 10. And in my opinion, this was a very good race for road course standards. There was plenty of passing going on compared to Sonoma. It was probably on the same level as Coda, but with a surprise winner. And you had some notable moments, such as the big pileup in turn 11, when everyone just piled in after Kevin Harvick spun, as well as Austin Dillon battling for the lead with Justin Haley and hitting the tire barrier off of turn 12. And of course, Shane Van Gisbergen battling hard with Justin Haley for the win. And in my opinion, this race was a success. The weekend itself was not a success. I'll talk about that later. But the main event that was hyped on NBC for weeks, in my opinion, was a huge, overwhelming success, including on the TV side, which I'll cover with the news. But it was not so in the Xfinity Series, as Cole Custer wins a rain-shortened race before the race even reached halfway or completing stage 2, and he was followed by John Hunter Nemechek in second, Justin Allgaier in third, Brett Moffitt in fourth, Austin Hill in fifth, Sammy Smith in sixth, Daniel Hemrick in seventh, Chandler Smith in eighth, Parker Kligerman in ninth, and Kaz Grala rounds out the top 10. And in my opinion, for the racing that did happen, it wasn't as good as the Cup race. In my opinion, that was to be expected, because I don't think these Xfinity cars can handle these tight corners at these street courses like the Cup cars can. The next-gen cars are designed for street courses and other road courses in mind, but not so for the Xfinity series, which are basically COTs and Gen 6s, but in a smaller format. But in my opinion, this race was an absolute disaster. Basically what happened is that lightning struck nearby, and that led to NASCAR red flagging the race to wait out the lightning delay, and usually it'd be just a quick 30-minute wait and we'll be back under running. But due to city law, which said that if there is a threat of severe weather, the park must evacuate. And evacuate it did. All the fans were forced to evacuate, and even the fans were told that the race was canceled. But NASCAR did not make that decision until much later, when they caught word of what was happening. And so they postponed it to the next day, but the next day, a drought-ending storm parked itself over Chicago, and it rained for hours. It even delayed the Cup race. That left NASCAR with no choice than to call the race before halfway, and Cole Custer ends up getting the victory. In my opinion, it wasn't really NASCAR's fault. It was just bad timing, as well as Chicago's very strict policy when it comes to weather at its parks, which in my opinion is probably way too strict. And I hope next time NASCAR does not have that happen again. And because of that, all the big concerts, which probably all the normies came to see, were all canceled, which probably left a bad taste in the normies' mouths. But us NASCAR fans, we don't really care about the shows that much. They're just a nice side to the main meal, which is the race. But the race was the side to the main course of the normie, which was the concerts, like the Chainsmokers and Miranda Lambert. But they didn't play because of the disaster that played out over the course of the Xfinity race, from the lightning strike to calling the race due to rain. And then this happened happened basically during the time of the Xfinity race. During the night between Saturday and Sunday, during the Xfinity race's red flag, someone broke into the track and drove around in their Corvette. And after he was caught by the guards, he was escorted out and arrested. Which is another thing that you need to look at, and that is that there is a crime problem in Chicago. Probably not with violent crimes such as homicides and murders. Most of the crime is burglary, larceny, and trespassing, which is what happened in this case. So NASCAR really needs to up its security game. They did hire 900 security guards, but they need to work on the track to make sure it is sealed up from trespassers while not sealing the storm drains, which caused flooding on pit road before the Cup race. So, in my opinion, this weekend overall was 50-50. The first half was a disaster, but the second half was an overwhelming success. And in my opinion, I think Chicago deserves a second chance. I was very skeptical, and so many other critics were, such as Denny Hamlin, who thought it was too narrow. But afterward, I think this could work out, in my opinion. It's according to how things go in Chicago. But with most of Chicago voting extreme left right now, I think we'll continue to see the Chicago street course as long as someone like Brandon Johnson or someone else that's extreme to the left is in control. And in my opinion, I think NASCAR should go to more street courses, such as going to other cities or maybe going international. After what we saw, I think the Cup Series could go international now without having to build a track in that country, like having to build the Goodyear Thunderdome in Australia or having to build a track in Japan like they did in the 90s at Motegi. I think now NASCAR can run anywhere it pleases. All they need is just to talk to the cities and make up deals. But we'll see what happens. There's many rumors going around right now, and who knows what we'll see in the future. And so with that out of the way, let's get to the news. Cambridge has agreed to a multi-year partnership with Spire Motorsports and will sponsor Corey LaJoie and Ty Dillon in multiple races. Also, Spire announced that Marco Andretti would run in the Mid-Ohio truck race. NASCAR and its premier partners have launched a new Thank You Fans campaign as part of the 75th anniversary celebration, which includes a sweepstakes to win an all-expense-paid trip to the finale at Phoenix, as well as other perks. And something to think about for a silly season, Shane Van Gisbergen would be allowed to move to NASCAR in 2024. Right now, Van Gisbergen is still under contract with Triple Eight until the end of 2024. After that, he is free to pursue a deal outside of the series. And next we have the Chicago Street Course TV ratings. NBC got its most watched Cup Series race in 6 years. NBC's coverage of the Chicago Street Course got 4.795 million viewers on NBC and Peacock, and is NBC Sports' 8th most watched race under its current rights agreement. So that adds to the success that Chicago Street Course got. Cole Custer has joined Rick Ware Racing for 3 Cup Series races this year in the 51. Richard Childress has been named the Grand Marshal for the Quaker State 400 at Atlanta. Pace car driver Kip Childress has retired from the role and has joined the Cars Tour as executive director. Austin Wayne Self will return to the Truck Series at Mid-Ohio. Sunseeker Resorts will be sponsoring Grant and Finger at Mid-Ohio. Brad and Paige Keselowski are expecting their 3rd child. And finally, some tragic news from Chicago. One of the workers died while setting up the street course. The 53-year-old man was an employee of a staging and lighting company. Initial reports said that the man may have been electrocuted, but an autopsy will determine a cause of death. A NASCAR spokesperson confirmed that a contractor suffered a fatal medical emergency, but declined to confirm the nature of the incident, according to WGN. And so that's it for this week's news. Now it's time to preview this weekend's races at Atlanta and Mid-Ohio. Starting off with the truck race at Mid-Ohio, we have the O'Reilly Auto Parts 150 at Mid-Ohio. The race will be 67 laps in 151 miles, and the race will be on July 8th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so for my pick, I'm gonna go with Zane Smith. Zane Smith won at COTA earlier this year, and he's been a force to be reckoned with on the road courses thanks to that 38 team. And I think this time, Zane Smith will win at Mid-Ohio. Next up for the Xfinity race from Atlanta, we have the Osco Uniforms 250. The race will be 163 laps and 251 miles, and the race will be on July 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And so for my pick, I'm gonna go with Sam Mayer. Sam Mayer has come close a few times to getting his first win at super speedways, and I think this time he's gonna do it. I think Sam Mayer will get his first career win by winning at Atlanta. And finally, for the Cup race, we have the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart. The race will be 267 laps and 400 miles, and the race will be on July 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And so for my pick, I'm going to go with the guy that almost won the last race in Atlanta in March. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. Brad has been very fast on these plate tracks with his new team and when he was running at Penske, but I think this time, Brad is going to get his first win with RFK by winning at Atlanta. And so that's it for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for more. And if you're going out to Atlanta this weekend, I hope you have a good time. And if you're not, have a good time wherever you are. And I'll see you next week.